Good afternoon, members of the media, members of the public joining us for today's post-cabinet media briefing. This has been a great week for our culture. It's been a great week for our heritage, and that's why we are very, very pleased this evening to have with us the Minister of Culture and Community Development, Minister Michelle Benjamin. We are joined by the Minister of Homeland Security, Minister Roger Alexander, and the Minister of Defense, Minister Wayne Sturge. So this evening, to present on what has been a very successful Carnival season, I'd like to welcome the Minister of Culture to present, Minister Michelle Benjamin. Minister.
All right, so thank you to my colleague again. Thank you to the viewing public and to you, the media present. As my colleague said, I'm here to give a report with regards to our carnival. So as we promised, it was a bumper carnival. And our team, you're going to love this. I think the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we delivered. Carnival 2026, team, you're going to love this, has concluded. For all parts, everything was a success. This was not a season that happened by chance. It was a season that this government planned and prepared for. The Ministry of Culture and Community Development, jointly with the Commission, the National Carnival Commission, we declared a bumper carnival, and that is exactly what we delivered to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. A carnival that is fuller, safer, and richer. Total government investment of $137 million well spent. Visitors projections of 37,000 we have reached, and in reports coming in may have surpassed this. Hotels full, over 100% occupancy, and persons could not find space in Port of Spain. Carnival 2026 circulated money and opportunity across communities from Port of Spain to Toco, to Miaro, and even Sandy Grande. Total jobs so far is 2,000 and counting. 147 direct jobs. We had over 400 road marshals, a number that would have to increase in 2027 for the amount of patrons that we had on the road. We had over 200 ushers and 83 compliance officers. When it comes to the new addition for Carnival this year, which was the Flavor Village, I reported that we would have received in the last press conference over 150,000 patrons. By now, we would have surpassed that, reaching 200,000 patrons. Flavor, that addition, will be closing on the 28th of this month, coming back next year with even more offerings to the general public and to those visiting. Our most successful night in Flavor saw us reaching 20,000 patrons. The Marshall Montano Friday at Flavor, forgive me, Marshall Monday, I think it sticks in every Trinidadian head. Our second largest night was 13,000 patrons, and that in itself was a success, as that was Patrice Roberts' night. Flavor became an overwhelming hum of families, young people, and elders, something this government pledged to give to this country. We return the carnival to you. Confirmed elements of Flavor, which the security, the family aspect, is what persons were looking for, and we delivered. When it comes to the John Cupid, we would have surpassed the patrons that would have attended last year, reaching over 45,000 persons this year in Flavor. The ministry would like to thank all of the winners. We had in the National Calypso Soca Monarch, first place, we had Terry Lyons with blessings, and she would receive $1 million courtesy the ministry and the government, and Tuco. Terry's powerful spiritual performance received a standing ovation from both the grandstand and the newly reopened North Stand, a defining moment in Carnival 2026. Second place, we had Mr. London, Water Ticker, 500,000. Third place, Ricky Jai, Don't Spoil My Name, with 350,000. A historic movement with regards to our road march winner, Marshall Montano, with Encore receiving 171 place. That in itself is a milestone with regards to Mr. Montano being able to to get that landmark. Second place, Voice. Third place, Bungee Garland. When it comes to our National Panorama Championship, we all would have seen who took that with regards to Exodus. And again, the ministry, myself, and this government congratulate that team. Chutney Soca Monarch, we had Miss Savita Singh with The Ring. The Kings and Queen, we have Miss Curtis, and we have our senior queen, Miss Omalo. Over 12,000 patrons with regards to Panorama semifinals and over 13,000 with regards to Junior Panorama. These events in itself are tremendous events and very successful. And the ministry and NCC, we were proud to be sponsors with regards to these events. Our vendors with over 411 vendors applications. Sadly, we could not have granted all. What we are doing is relooking the space at the Savannah to see how many vendors we could cater for in 2027. This year, we could have only accommodate 211 vendors, and we are looking to increase that. And with regards to how these vendors are chosen, we want to advertise earlier this year so persons have an open opportunity with regards to applying to become a vendor, whether it is in flavor or just in the general space on the Savannah. Regional Carnival. With over 6 million invested in Regional Carnival, we saw over 32 Regional Carnival committees. And what we will have seen in the general space is an uptake with regards to persons attending these events. So you would have seen Sandy Grande and uptake with regards to Murga Carnival, and even the mayor of San Fernando declaring that the Juve in San Fernando was the biggest throughout the country. That in itself, I would say Murga could contend those numbers, and even Sandy Grande with over 20,000 persons coming out. But you could see that the $6 million invested by the government was money well spent. Persons felt safer this year, so they came out to participate. When it comes to our general safety, as I said before, we would have spent over $3.2 million. Money went to REACT, money went to TTPS, and also with regards to private security. We wanted to make sure that everyone participating in the carnival felt safe, secure, and that persons looking on with regards to the build-up to the mega days, which were Monday and Tuesday, felt safe enough to come out, and we saw that and persons coming out with regards to the Juve, and even persons and patrons coming out to view the pretty mass. When it comes to our sanitation, and I would like to take this time to thank my colleague in local government and NCC officials for making sure that if you drive by that Savannah this morning, yesterday morning, it was totally clean, and even spaces that had regional carnival were totally clean. So again, I would like to thank my colleague in local government and the officials at NCC for making sure that the carnival itself left no mark with regards to the environment. The NCC leadership, I would like to take time to thank my chairman and vice chairman, and also the staff at NCC for the work that was done with regards to this carnival. The Ministry of Culture and Community Development, I could tell you that we stand ready and we are planning with regards to Carnival 2027. Meetings are starting as early as tomorrow. I am meeting with my chairman at NCC with regards to a 2 o'clock meeting that is carded, and that will be with regards to planning 2027. When it comes to 2027, it is going to be an open planning, as everything with regards to my desk and my office, we have open consultation. Those consultations are carded to start from the month of April, where I will be meeting with all stakeholders that have an active part to play with regards to our carnival. At this time, I would like to take this opportunity to thank again the National Carnival Commission, Pan Trimbago, TUCO, TTCBA, the Trinidad and Tobago's Promoters Association, the Ministry of Homeland Security, the Ministry of Works, TTPS, TTFC, and also REACT, for what you have done for this carnival and making sure that everyone is safe. And basically, we are incident free, and that is because of the work that was put in. I will also like to take this time to give a special thank you to the Gold Commander, Ms. Martin. You went above and beyond the call of duty, even when we had congestion on the roadway with regards to the bans. That was sorted out in, I would say, a matter of minutes. So again, I would like to commend you. I would like to take this time to commend the Cabinet, the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, for the effort and and the faith and the trust that was placed in me to make sure that we had a bumper carnival. We told you that it was going to be a bumper carnival, and we delivered. We said that you're going to love this, and I know Trinidad and Tobago loved and appreciated. Now there are naysayers in the public domain, but Trinidad and Tobago, this is our culture. And I'm glad that you came out and you enjoyed. Thank you. I await your questions.
Thank you very much, Minister Benjamin. I'd now like to hand over to the Minister of Homeland Security, Minister Roger Alexander, to address us on the issues of security over the past few days.
Good afternoon, members of the media and your viewing and listening public. For the past month, leading up to Carnival Monday and Tuesday, and on to Ash Wednesday, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, Transit Police, Prison Service, Fire Service, Immigration Department, Traffic Wardens, Municipal Police, all came out in their numbers to ensure that you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and visitors, had a safe carnival. Persons came out in their numbers knowing that the level of safety and security provided by these agencies was enough to give them the confidence to come and have fun, party, all day and sometimes all night. I want to thank publicly the people of Trinidad and Tobago for what I deem the display of responsible behavior throughout this country. I went to Sandy Grande, Point Fortin, San Fernando, Rio Claro, Port of Spain, Chagonas, and there was no room for persons on the nation streets. People was having so much fun. And again, I want to thank my colleague, Minister of Culture, for what I could only describe as a true display of Trinidad and Tobago culture for the world to see. Again, there are some areas that I spoke to the Commissioner of Police on that needs a little tweaking as a result of what we observe. But as I stand here, I too want to commend the Commissioner of Police and the Gold Commander, Ms. Suzette Martin. I'm hoping that she is sleeping as I speak because she has been up and about continuously, exactly, over this period. And we want to thank her for that. She displayed a level of leadership when given this responsibility, something that we have seldom seen. Hardly see this type of behavior before from persons when they're given this type of responsibility. And we want to commend her for that. What we are looking at now is how do we sustain as much as possible what was given to this nation over the Carnival period. It is done for discussion. We have a series of things that we want to put together to ensure that a level of it continues. Citizens, this is the time when we looked and reflect on what happened over the period. The police service has not yet kept its post-mortem as a result of Carnival, so I just want to say this much. When that is over, they will have a press conference to discuss what happens further. But as we stand here today, again, I want to thank all the agencies, all the citizens who came out and enjoyed themselves. Up to yesterday on Maracas Beach and other beaches, persons were out in their numbers, lending support to each other, lending the support to the country while persons were looking While some persons were hoping that things fall apart, the citizens of this country maintained, and as a result of that, we commend them each, every one of them, for what they would have done. I hold for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Roger Alexander. I'd like now to invite the Minister of Defense, Minister Sturge, because a very key component of this carnival was not only on the roads, but also on the beaches and protecting the families who chose to spend their carnival in another fashion. So I'd like to invite Minister Sturge to report to us on the great work he did for us during the season in constituencies such as mine, as well as Minister Benjamin's constituency and others.
Thank you, Nicholas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. Let me first of all, before I get into my immediate task, let me also echo what Minister Alexander stated with regard to the Gold Commander, DCP Suzette Martin, and to congratulate both the Gold Commander and the Commissioner of Police on a job well done. I think this carnival would go down as one of the safest in the last 2 decades, if I can recall clearly. Now, with respect to the situation on the beaches, we had put a number of initiatives in place because we expected there to be a great turnout in the beaches, in the coastal areas, because that is the norm, that's the lived experience in this country, that quite a number of persons who do not partake in Carnival, particularly the churchgoers, usually go out to the coastal areas to enjoy the serenity of the beaches. With that in mind, we called out all of the reserves, so all of the beaches which we identified as the more popular ones were well staffed. They were at full strength. We additionally brought out lifeguard services from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. We also acquired, by way of rental, some jet skis for the Mearu constituency. We understand that Las Cuevas already has one. I visited yesterday. I saw the one in Las Cuevas. And from the visit yesterday, I understand that we are very close to bringing back the jet ski that the Maracas Bay facility has. It has been down for quite some time, and we've put things in place to have it back up and running very soon. So we are pleased to announce that based on the initiatives we have done and the invitations and the advice that we offered, that there have been no drownings at all for the period we've covered, unless you tell me different, because I was here all day. So quite apart from a very safe carnival in the streets during the festivities, outside of that, on the beaches, on the coastlines, and so on, there was also a lot of safety. We've not seen any incidents of violence that we can talk about, or any drownings or anything like that. So I think all in all this year, we've been blessed in that regard. Of course, we look forward to a post-mortem to be conducted, not just with respect to the national security apparatus as it worked during the carnival period, but countrywide basically, so that we can replicate it other times during the year, because there are other periods where there's heightened activity and so on. So once that post-mortem is carried out, we'll once more report to you, so that we can tweak in advance of next year and make next year, well, we can improve upon what we've done this year, and we are proud of what we've done this year. And lastly, on a personal note, I'd like to thank my colleague, Michelle Benjamin. She promised a bumper carnival. In fact, just yesterday I saw a video where Penny Beckles was saying, well, they promised you a bumper carnival. Let's see what would happen. And she delivered. This was the best carnival in decades. So again, congratulations on a job well done. Congratulations to the NCC. We know, of course, there were instances when Carnival is bacchanal, they say, so they must have a little bacchanal in between, whether it was the judging or someone's favorite artist didn't win, whatever. But that's all part of the course, and that's in essence that's the spirit of Carnival. So I look forward to your questions at the end.
Thank you very much, Minister Sturge. So again, we'd like to ask, open up for questions from members of the media. And I see the head of the Media Association, Prior.
Prior AZP News here. My first question is for Minister Benjamin. Minister Benjamin, today at a press conference, the PNM Hans Devines, he asked for a breakdown of the 137 million spent on Carnival. Can you give us a breakdown in terms of how the money was spent?
Of course, that breakdown would be provided, as I have said throughout all my press conferences and every time I speak about the carnival. I intend to let the public know how that funding is usually allocated. Sadly, what I met on taking over the ministry and NCC is that most of the funding goes into infrastructure. Hence the reason this government and my cabinet, we put flavor in place to further reach out to vendors, the small man on the ground, so we speak, and also giving artists a greater opportunity. I think this year, and something I always fail to, I need to stick to my notes sometime, fail to say is that this year, I think artists saw more bookings because of flavor. Some artists, they will have songs and they don't even get it played on the radio. So that is something I intend to do. Let the general public know the funding and the spend with regards to NCC. What I met on books is one contractor sometime getting over $100 million. I would have put a media release immediately after taking office and conducting certain investigation. I think that media release would have came out in the month of September. And then they are spent with regards to the North Stand. They are spent, the traditional spent. So I would tell you that we did not reinvent the wheel. Most of the things that you'll see my administration doing, sometimes we have no choice, especially for the first year in doing things, more than to execute as we would have met on the books. Because when you try to institute any sort of change, which I would have tried in this carnival, to further give it back to the people, you will see certain pushback, and pushback from opposition members that know what they have left in train is an eating frenzy from their friend and family and contractors. So my colleague could rest assured that I would be interrupted in 2027 and that things would be more openly done. So Trinidad and Tobago would know where that spent is happening, and also it would be fair so persons could earn.
And when can we get a breakdown? When do we expect?
As you would, Carnival has just concluded, and more so because we are still doing things. We still have persons contracted. We're still in the process of regional carnivals. Although you would see it concluded, there are a lot of things that has to wind up. So within a month, I will think it's fair.
There was also an issue still with parking around the Queen's Park Savannah. Is that something going forward you're going to fix, you look at?
Consultation, as I said when I was speaking, has to happen, and stakeholders meeting. What I would like is to bring agriculture, horticulture to the table. We have to have a conversation with regards to the use of the savannah and what I could do with regards to the parts that is vested under NCC, and I'm trying to get more square footage vested under NCC to make it the activity center, or the, I don't want to say the Fed capital, but it is the Savannah space, and is where most of the events supposed to happen. When it came to parking, I don't think that was any fault with regards to NCC or the ministry, because we would have had patrons park safely, because we would have hired the marshals, and also we had private security doing parking. So anything outside, persons choosing to park on the roadway, probably more signage, but I take that point and we'll look into it.
And the so-called drone, it was not successful as years before. Is this something you're going to look at now?
Right. The Soccer as you would appreciate, because it is an active construction site, we had to be careful as to where we would have allow it to be built this year. So there was some sort of alteration with regards to where persons know it is. What is the drawback with regards to our entire carnival package is marketing. And that is something I intend to treat with from the onset. Not just local marketing, and also the route itself with regards to the soca drone. So some bands want to go, some bands don't want to go. As a government, as the minister in charge of NCC and any organization that deals with Carnival, I have to bring them to the table, advertise early so I don't get the unnecessary pushback from the opposition trying to enter the Carnival space. This is a business. Our Carnival is a business. And when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago, it is our main tourism product. So I intend to have that conversation. Any alteration with regards to the route, whether Socom June is there, it's not there, that conversation would be had and duly advertised before the month of September.
My next question is for Minister Morris, Minister, and congratulations on the elevation to Minister. Mr. Hans Devines again raised the issue about the audio with Mr. Helen Francis, and he's calling for the Dante log, the undoctored Dante log, to be made available to show that it was really done. Are you willing to make that available?
Let me address this issue firstly by saying, one, when the issue occurred, we contacted the CEO of TTT. The CEO and the technical team of TTT provided a report on the issue. And for those calling for an independent investigation into this issue, I want to say that the staff at TTT are independent. They weren't hired by the UNC. They were there. We met them there. And we will not allow people to tarnish the staff at TTT firstly. So there's no need for an independent investigation because the team at TTT, who we met there, did their investigation. They provided a report. Secondly, this is not the first time that TTT has had issues like this. I've raised before, in 2024, while then leader of the opposition was speaking at the Diwali Nagar, TTT had a breakdown. I want to also say that we respect the contribution of all Calypsonians. Helen Francis. Helen Francis did nothing special by singing against the government, if people say. The UNC historically has received bashing from Calypsonians for over 20 to 25 years. There's no need to mute a mic so people cannot hear what he has to say. This party, and even this prime minister and leader, has stood up to take ridicule, to take bashing from many people in this society, and we've stood strong. We've won an election. So there was no need to mute the mic of Helen Francis. So I want to put it to rest the government, and no member of the government saw the need to mute the mic. We put out our report from TTT. It was a Dante router issue. And I said that there's no nefarious doing in it. And the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is not afraid of criticism. The UNC is not afraid of criticism. Kamla Prasad Bisesa is not afraid of criticism. Again, I've said to you historically, from 2000 since I was a child, Calypsonian after Calypsonian has bashed the UNC. They've bashed UNC prime ministers. They've bashed this prime minister from 2010 to 15 and now. And we've taken it, we've stood strong, we've protected and preserved culture. So there was no need to mute Helen Francis' mic. Helen Francis was not doing anything special in terms of singing against the government. He was promoting his art form. We respect his work. We respect every Calypsonian. We respect the Marsh Gras. What occurred on that night was a technical issue. A technical issue that we have seen TTT experience even before this government. And I want to tell Hans Devines, it is clear that the opposition have nothing to do with their time. True. If you can go in a press conference and ask for a report on the Dante system router, it tells me you as a politician, an MP with a constituency to service, you have nothing to ask for. But I want to go again. We will not allow the opposition to politicize Carnival. My colleague Michelle Benjamin and these two gentlemen did an extremely good job in delivering one of the best carnivals ever. We have seen for the past 48 hours the leader of the opposition calling for some analysis and apology. We have now seen a press conference addressing this. When you have nothing to speak about, you look to make noise. We will not stand for that. Today, on behalf of TTT, on behalf of the government, we apologize to the viewers, we apologize to the fans, and we apologize to Mr. Francis. But I've said clearly before, the UNC is not afraid of criticism. The Prime Minister is not afraid of criticism. Not a single member of our 28 MPs or 26 MPs and our Tomago friends are afraid of criticism. So we will never dare to mute a microphone. Let us now kill that issue. We have a country to run. The March Gras is over, and I want to put it on the record. It was only the viewing public from the television affected. But in the venue, the judges heard well. So judging was not affected. Judging were not affected. Again, we apologize for what the viewers would not be able to hear. But again, my end of statement on this issue is this government has a country to run. We do not fear criticism. We are not the last administration who ran from the country. We'll accept that criticism. We'll work hard, so there's no need to mute a microphone.
So are you going to make the Dante log available?
As I said prior, the issue, we have put it out as a Dante router issue. That issue is now dead. If Mr. Devines wants to go and get Spotify and this and that, he could do all of that. But the government has a country to run. We do not have time now to dwell on an issue as trivial as this. We now have an economy to rebuild that they have destroyed. We have security to restore that they ignored. And we have citizens who are depending on us. So if Mr. Hans Devines has time on his hand to study YouTube and Spotify, Facebook, Dante, AirBuds, and whatever audio stuff, we have a country to run. But I want to respond to something people calling for an independent investigation. As I've said before, there's a level of double-sidedness with the PNM when they take office, when they go into opposition. They will say, don't attack public servants and don't attack workers. We met the individuals at TTT. We are grateful for their hard work. So the report you see out in the public came from TTT's independent technical team. And we are satisfied with that report, and we move on to run a country.
Minister, Doris Polo, Guardian Media, I wanted to weigh in on the conversation as it pertains to the audio difficulties that occurred during Helen Francis's performance. Apart from the MP, the PNM MP, the Emancipation Support Committee, independent organization, would have called for an independent investigation into the incident. They also responded to the Prime Minister's social media post, rejecting the suggestion that calypsos in the past were divisive, and they emphasized and went back into history of where the origins of calypsos and so forth. For that organization, not a political organization, what's your response to their request for that independent investigation?
We respect that organization very much. We respect their work. But as I said before, the report put forward by TTT's technical team, presented us by the acting CEO, represents an independent report in itself, because those are highly trained technical individuals we've met there, and that in itself is as independent as you can get. In terms of their comment against the Prime Minister's statement, the Prime Minister did not say that calypso was divisive. The Prime Minister didn't condemn calypso. Calypso is part of our national history or heritage or patrimony, and I'm proud of calypso. But the Prime Minister highlighted the facts that at times there have been issues that have been divisive, not calypso itself, but some of the artists. So we stand with the Prime Minister's statement. We want to put on record that it was this Prime Minister in 10 to 15 who increased the prize money for the Calypso monarch. So this government has always preserved, respected Carnival, Calypso, and the national art form. So in terms of the organization, we respect their work, their view, but it is our view that the team at TTT is as independent as you can get. We met them there, they're highly trained, and we accept that report. We have issued, TTT has issued, which I have repeated, an apology to Mr. Francis, to the viewers, to the fans. And again, this is not the first time it's happened in 2024. And you have to ask yourself, why does this happen with TTT? TTT has some of the most dynamic individuals. They have some of the most dynamic staff. But when for 10 years, you lead a country down a path of destruction, your state media house has befallen in that destruction. And some of the equipment was not paid attention to. Some of the new strategies in media wasn't paid attention to. So the problems facing TTT today stems from the government of the previous government. But that is a conversation for another day. And I've premised my answer by saying in 2024 it happened. It happened many times before. I even saw a meme sometime before that during Panorama, some people, the audio went and they wanted to know if the government mute the audio on Panorama too, because that is the issues we face as a station, you know. And again, it was unfortunate how the circumstances occurred. But there's no disrespect to Mr. Francis, who again is a former independent senator as well. So there's that respect towards him. And we learn from him. We will work to improve the station. But again, it cannot be said that this government prime minister is against culture or trying to silence anyone.
Minister Benjamin, I want to turn to Flavor Village. At the last conference at the NCC VIP room, you would have said that the government was not really paying artists to perform at Flavor Village per se. Today, Marshall Montano confirmed that he didn't perform for free. Will we be able to receive a breakdown at some point, if you are unable to do so now, in terms of the figures that artists would have been paid or compensated to perform at Flavor Village?
It was never said that artists won't be paid at Flavor. And I remember when the question was posed to me with regards to Marshall, I said that with regards to his backup dancers, with regards to the, I keep forgetting the band. I think it was the A-Team band. I remember the question that was posed. And I answered with regards to where the money went. And on that night, you would have saw that there was a drone show and different things that we gave to the public. So I remember how the questions were posed. And when it came to Flavor, I remember several press conferences, and we said that we are providing opportunities for artists to earn. And that we took pride in it, because the complaint that came to us is that some artists won't even be played on the station, like I said before, and that they won't get in bookings from regular promoters. So yes, that breakdown would be provided with regards to the entire spend. I want to provide it. I want the country to see over the last 10 years where the money with regards to Carnival go, and that NCC, the governing body, usually spend the money with regards to infrastructure. And what this government is trying to do is to carry the Carnival back to the people and to make sure that the artists earn. It is very sad that artists, most of my artists, they are not doing well, so to speak. And some, when they reach in the latter years, so I have to do better. And that is the mandate of this government.
I want to go to, I'm not sure who will take it between Minister Alexander and Minister Sturge, but you spoke, both of you, about Carnival being one of the safest. In fact, I think Minister Sturge said one of the safest carnivals in the last 2 decades. 2 people were shot in the capital, Arapita Avenue, St. James, and a 19-year-old was stabbed. He died as a result of his injuries, and that incident would have occurred during Juve celebrations. Would not have been a safe carnival for those individuals. My question is, what is the government's view in terms of addressing incidents of violent crimes amidst Carnival, because they do occur, it happens very often, especially when alcohol is involved. I know that there was a initiative, I think last year, where people were searched before entering through City Gate and so forth to remove any items that could be used as weapons. Did something like that happen this time around? And are we still confident that this was a safe carnival?
Well, let me answer in the best way I know how. A number of measures was implemented on the night before. A number of police officers from different agencies patrolled in and out in terms of areas where people were liming, in the streets and all of that. The problem here lies that there are persons who continue to have issues with each other. And when they come to the carnival areas, they bring their problem with them. If you look at who was shot and all of that, they are from the same area. Doesn't that paint a picture? So when you're talking about safety and security, none of those incidents was really carnival related. That's you bring your personal thing into the carnival. Everything was done as it relates to protecting the citizens from persons entering into the carnival areas armed. All right?
So we'll get those statistics in terms of items retrieved and so forth tomorrow, perhaps?
As soon as the autopsy is over, all right, and they stitch back up everything, you will get the information.
But just to add, you mentioned three incidents which occurred in a scenario where there were thousands of persons in cramped spaces, many of them inebriated, and you only mentioned three incidents. Right, that you know of? Well, you're the media, you're supposed to know, and usually when the media comes, they would usually come with statistics from previous years. If you compare it to previous years, is this the first time someone has been shot at during Carnival? Is this the first time someone was murdered during Carnival? The answer is no. It is not uncommon. And the fact that you can only mention three incidents over a 5-day period, it tells how safe it was. No, I expected you to come with statistics to tell me, well, different years it had no shootings or no stabbings or nothing. You can't have that size of an event where thousands of persons are inebriated and so on, and from different zones, so to speak, and not have some sort of fiction and this sort of thing. This is not uncommon. But what we are saying is the very fact that you could only point to three incidents, you being the media, and not bring statistics to back it up, to contradict that this was the safest. And that tells a story. And whilst I'm on that, I noticed yesterday the Express carried an editorial, and they quoted the Crime and Problem Analysis Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, CAPA, and they were trying to paint a picture that this carnival was no different to others. And in trying to paint the picture, they said they used the statistics for the months of January, February, and March 2026. But today is the 18th or 19th, that's all. February has not yet ended, but the Express editorial is making reference to statistics for January, February, and March, which has not started. So that really calls into question the agenda and the integrity on this issue.
It's interesting that you used the word agenda and integrity. There were murders in last year's Carnival event. There was one in St. James, if I remember correctly.
There were murders, plural. There was one this year, singular.
Right, but
so that's an improvement. There were several last year and several in all of the other years except 2021 when because of COVID we didn't have Carnival. So you are making my point for me that if you bring statistics, you would see this is the safest in about 20 years.
What I'm trying to get, Minister, with all due respect, is acknowledgement that we often hear the Prime Minister herself and her predecessors before her acknowledge that one murder is too many. So when you say...
I didn't say different, did I?
You said it's the safest carnival.
It is.
But what I'm saying is, not referring to an agenda. For the record, I do not have one. But what I'm asking, and I think what perhaps even the families of these people who are victims, people who were shot, people, in this instance, a teenager that died, acknowledging at the very least that it wasn't an incident-free carnival. And that it was one...
Wait. Did I ever say
I'm saying
that it was not incident-free? Did I
What
ever
I
say that?
said
I'm
was
asking
for
you a simple
you
question.
to
Did I ever say it was
acknowledge
not incident-free?
what I'm saying, Minister.
You are not answering.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, you are, and
Okay,
you are
so
you are
what
you are
I
free to
just
answer the
said,
question.
what I
Did I
just
ever
said,
say that it was not incident-free? Did I ever say that?
what I just
Did I
said
ever say that?
was that
You can't even
what
answer.
I'm asking in terms of posing the question is whether you are in a position to acknowledge or whether you are willing to acknowledge that it was not an
That someone died?
incident-free carnival. That's it.
Did I ever suggest it was not?
So it was not an incident-free
No, I
carnival.
think in context
No
there,
carnival is incident-free.
think she-
Was there ever an incident-free carnival in the last 25 years? The answer is no. If you are honest, you would accept that. If you
I'm
are
not
honest, you would
disagreeing.
always, right. So you would also accept that I did not say it was not incident-free.
You would have also mentioned where where there's persons who's drinking, taking drugs, and a number of issues there. So how do you manage all these people in a cramped space? Some persons can't even control that behavior home in their house. So we are trying our best with respect to what is happening out in the nation streets where they are. I am looking at Sandy Grande, even in Tunapuna, my constituency. Persons came out there because they had that trust and confidence that all will be well, and all was well. So a number of persons who never came out came out. And this is persons who drinking and smoking and drugs taking and all these things. Things would happen. The police cannot police sometimes the persons who may deem not so smart, you really can't police them. You give people a chance to account for their own actions. It's a responsible behavior we was asking for. And we got, in many cases, in different parts of Trinidad, responsible behavior was on display. So when persons who have issues with numbers, who is 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, leave their domain and come to a place where they are good law-abiding citizens, and they manage to penetrate undetected, things would happen. But they brought it to the people who just wanted to have a good time. And I said openly the day before, if you know that you have issues with people, please stay home.
I appreciate the measured response.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anna Ramdas from the Express newspaper. Minister Benjamin, there were discussions before Carnival about the Flavor Village being a regular staple throughout the year. Is that going to be considered, or would it be back next year?
Yes, it is going to be back next year, but it will be closing off on the 28th. As you would appreciate, it being a new initiative, there are things that we have to treat with. In order for it to be permanent, I do not want to have. If you look at the floor, if you visit Flavor, the floor is temporary. It's moving. The crowd that we didn't anticipate it would have been so overwhelming at some nights. Flavor, I think that floor itself had taken a beating that has to be redone. So there's no way that we could keep it up right now. It will be closing off on the 28th. We're planning on closing it with a religious aspect where we will have all the local Calypsonians that sing gospel tunes come into the space, and we send it off in a nice praise to bring it back next year.
Yeah, Minister Serge, last week you spoke about additional lifeguards for the beaches, and you said some would be stationed over the carnival period. But what about moving forward? Do you have any dates as to when they will be deployed?
Well, based on the conversation I had yesterday in Maracas with the lifeguard stationed there, what we do at the ministry and the head of the unit is stationed in the ministry, we look at trends basically. So during the week you would not need that many lifeguards, whereas on weekends you would have a bigger crowd, and for public holidays, particularly long weekends, for instance, Easter weekend, you would have a serious uptick in the amount of persons using the facilities. So for those periods, we would ramp up the numbers and the equipment, because it does make sense spending that kind of money because there has to be a cost-benefit analysis. So it makes no sense having 20 lifeguards at any one time on Maracas if there are only 20 people bathing on a Monday or a Tuesday. So it would be based on from how we predict in the past. We predict from numbers in the past. We'll use that as a prediction and see how best we come up with the appropriate numbers.
Yeah, and finally, last week you had given a warning to revelers and to people about, making sure that they leave their sex toys at home and to watch their conduct and their behavior, no copulating in public. Based on any preliminary assessments, the people behave themselves? Was was the conduct of the people?
I saw 2 or 3 videos, and I saw 2 or 3 videos. That's all I'll say. But generally, I think people were well behaved. I think people were having a time. I think that's how you put it. And there was one video which was funny, where a person from a mass camp was complaining about 4 persons, 2 male, 2 females, who went into her facilities to copulate. And she had to run them out, and she was cursing and all that. And that was funny. It was over the Carnival weekend, but I saw a couple other videos. But I mean, that's normal. It's not best practice. It's people. Some people, yes, most people were well behaved, but I mean, if we go by the statistics, you expect deviant behavior from time to time, but it was in the minority.
And finally, I saw an article from the National Interest Online giving kudos to the Prime Minister for her support of Donald Trump and his efforts with respect to transnational crime and the narco trafficking. Can you give an update on your radar? Is it still stationed in Tobago, and is that temporary, or how long would it be there for going forward?
We would have the use of the radar for the foreseeable future. I can't give a definitive timeline. And the reason why we need it, we already have a radar center, but our radar systems are somewhat limited. The radar systems provided by the US, they work with drone technology and satellite communications and so on, so that it offers a lot more than what we have. And that is needed at this point in time to achieve certain objectives because, as you would appreciate, the fleet, the Coast Guard's fleet is not what it should be. So that we need the assistance in terms of detection, which would help us with the limited fleet we have. It would help us to respond in a timely manner and intercept.
And Mr. Sturge, is there a U.S. military personnel in Tobago and Trinidad?
Sorry?
Is there U.S. military personnel in Trinidad and Tobago, and how many? You get a figure.
I will not disclose the numbers. That would be unwise. I don't think anywhere that sort of information would be disclosed because that is not in the public interest, unless you can tell me how the public would be well served by knowing that. Until you could justify that, I wouldn't be providing that information.
Well, I don't think we have a right to know if there are foreign military officers in our country, in our soil.
You have a right to know?
Of course.
Okay. You have a right to know. Where you get that right?
This is my country,
It's
your foreign military officers.
It's your country. The fact that there are military personnel here, does that take away from your sovereignty, or does it not add to your sovereignty when the enemy would be persons, narco traffickers, who we have not been able to contain over so many decades?
I'm saying, is it in public interest for us to know if they are foreign?
You just told me you had a right to know. Where do you get that right? Can you show me where you get that right?
We are a sovereign nation.
I know we are
a foreign military officers on our soil.
But you told me you had a right.
Yeah, we definitely have a right.
Can you tell me where that right is? The source of that right?
Well, I see you're going to circle us here. But
Let me, reporter,
I'm glad
reporter, let me ask you this. Let me chime in here. You know, we have entertained thousands of visitors here. Are we to look at them and say, are you this, are you that, are you this, are you that? Right now we have a ship right down on the port from Spain.
And we know that they're here.
And you still ask the question? So you understand what I'm saying? We have a number of visitors here. We are not going to check persons to see how much persons are here. We want everybody to come here as visitors and enjoy themselves. They had a ball.
But I want to ask, what is the complaint in having
I don't understand.
in having them here?
It's not a complaint.
It's not a complaint.
It's just that if there is foreign military
And how
personnel
does that benefit you? How does that information benefit you? The numbers.
We are a sovereign country. And
Okay,
we have
you
a
said
right
that
to
before.
know who are the foreign military personnel. in our
Okay,
shores.
sir, let me ask you a question. If I tell it to you in this forum, would I not be telling the world at large? If I'm telling the world at large, would I not be telling the criminal element? Is that a wise thing to do? There's a difference between, listen,
Why?
public
Why is
interest.
that not a wise thing to do?
Sorry?
Why isn't that another wise
It's not
thing
a
to do?
wise thing to tell the persons you are fighting against your enemies. I am assuming you read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, that when you are at your strongest, you give the impression that you are at your weakest. And when you are at your weakest, you give the impression that you are at your strongest. Right?
But we are not
So
at,
the
are
short
we at
point
war
is,
now, Minister?
we have been at war since the 90s with narco traffickers. We have been, and you've seen the effects of that on this country. You have. So, and we have not been doing too well in terms of stemming the flow of drugs and guns into this country. And the thing is, most of our murders in this country are drug-related, gang-related, and the weapon of choice, firearms. And what they are fighting basically over drug turf. So if we've not been able to stem that over the last 3 decades or so, and we are getting assistance in doing it now, should I tell the narco traffickers, well, we have X amount of U.S. personnel here, and this is where they are stationed, so that they'll know, well, how to conduct their business? No, that's not how it's done.
The Coast Guard vessels, are we going to get all of them up and running? And how soon? Is that something you're working on?
We have been working on it. A number of them have already been repaired and up and running, and we are in the process of acquiring a few more. Not the diamond type or the hostile type, not the big ones, because the reality is, if you look at what the narco traffickers use, they use, I think, 30-foot or 20 or 30-foot speedboats with 4 outboard engines, and they tend to outrun some of the bigger vessels. So we are in the process of looking at getting equipment that can match that.
With the line of questioning for coming from the media, am I to say that you're satisfied with the Carnival 2026 from your line of questioning, because you moved directly from Carnival into asking a number of questions that we don't really see the purpose behind it. Are you satisfied with how Carnival was 2026? Coming from the media.
Right.
Okay.
Always ask the question?
Yeah.
That way you don't say it? You don't take questions? Yeah, but
In terms of the
you know, if we could get back to the Carnival, we'll appreciate it, because you're asking some questions over and over and over, the same thing over and over for the last 3-4 months.
Ciudad Prasad, Talk City 91.1 FM.
Yes, sir.
As when the issue of security, the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting will take place in St. Kitts from the 24th to the 27th. Regional security will be one of the main issues on the agenda. Will any of you two gentlemen, as national security or security ministers, respective portfolios, be accompanying the Prime Minister, who has confirmed her attendance at that meeting?
No.
The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is the head of the National Security Council.
Which is a subcommittee of cabinet, yeah.
Whatever information that I have, she has also.
Right, fair enough. Thanks so much. The other question, while you talk about the maritime assets, acquiring some new boats, some probably smaller, faster boats, what about aerial surveillance and aerial assets? Are we in the process? Because to my best knowledge, we, apart from the radar, the limited functionality of our Trinidad radar, now we have the support of the U.S. facility in Tobago. In terms of helicopters, drones, and so on, we might have some limited amount of drones. But are there any, without giving any information away to criminals, but to give the assurance to the national community that aerial assets will are being acquired to assist in crime fight and
we always need more. We are satisfied with what we have. What we have is working, and that's all I'll say on that.
Does the Air Guard have any air assets, active air assets right now?
The Air Guard does not need to have active air assets. If you're talking about helicopters, they do have. That's the first thing. The second thing is helicopters are largely outdated.
Drones.
Right? So that we have other equipment that we rely on.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, members of the media, thank you very, very much for joining with us. We thank Minister Benjamin. Well, we are the ministers getting up. I'm sure we can have an interview with them out as they walk out.
The first time you said that, they left the room. Only Minister Stage actually.
No, I give you a commitment, they will speak to you. So we thank the public for joining us this evening, and the ministers are right there.